don't even think y'all get tired of it. But when you talk about ZJ and Journey, and the crazy thing is I have other kids, but ZJ is the comical one. Let me tell you what he said the other day. He said, "Ma, am I from the hood?" I said, "What?" Like, what? He was like, "Am I from the hood? Because I feel like I am, but I'm not quite sure." I said, "Well, what do you think the hood is, for one?" He said, "Well, remember that time you went to the jewelry store? That was the hood." So I had went to a jewelry store on Greenmount. And there was, a lot of traffic, and he swore somebody was trying to break into the store next door. It was just a lot, right? So he was like, "That's the hood." I said, "Sir, I own a home over there that I resided in for 11 years. Like, first of all, you're not from the hood, okay? How about that? You're just not from the hood." He was like, "So what am I from?" "I'm going to give you more suburbia." Like, I'm going to give you county. "Oh, you from the suburbs too?" "No, I am not. I am from the hood." He said, "What about my father? He is also from the hood. But you are not." Like, yo, where do kids get this from? And talking about back to school, I wonder if he's asking other kids on the bus, "You from the hood?" Who all just got on the bus in this little
and they
suburb.
all probably think they are.
Yes. It's weird. It's fucking weird. Most people from the hood, not that we're not proud of it, but there was so much that we were exposed to that it's like, yeah, I don't want that for my kid. And now you got these kids, that's concerning, especially working in detention for so long in the county, and they just wanted to be from the hood so badly. Like,
yeah,
what?
That's true.
That's
true.
But,
that's
you
true.
got music and media that draws it in. But, yeah, I just thought of that when we talked about back to school and these crazy-ass kids.
These kids crazy as all hell. Okay, they crazy. I'm not dealing with Journey this week. This is not our topic, but I know you're not on social media, but I ran across Shade Room, and they posted the cuffing season schedule.
Oh yes. It's upon us. Well, no, okay, wait. Tell me what you read, because it's a whole schedule. People used to assume this is official cuffing season. Go for it.
So this is it.
Yeah,
this is it. Because I remember you did cuffing season is upon us.
Exactly.
We had a episode of that. So August 1st through the 31st is scouting.
Yes, there you
so
go.
So you just looking,
just
you watching
it.
some plays, you
I
seeing
like
what kind of moves you got.
I see it.
Right.
Yeah.
September 1st through the 30th, right now, is drafting.
Yes. Go. Like, this is important. People go straight into cuffing. Like, come on. Why aren't you scouting and drafting first?
October 1st through the 31st, tryouts.
There we go.
Motherfucking tryouts.
Tryout.
November 1st through the 30th.
Here we go.
Preseason.
Oh, I missed a step. Okay.
Because some people get cut.
Yes.
And the final roster comes out December 1st through January 15th. That's official cuffing season.
Yes.
Okay?
So you have a few months.
You have, you get to see, you get to, you're not making any irrational moves. But in the comments, because it's always in the comments.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
What it said is that you got to be very careful in your drafting and your tryouts, because you can get really fucked up in preseason. You can get hurt.
Yeah.
During preseason.
So when I actually read like a whole full article about this maybe a month or so ago, and we always got a different spin to it. I think that scouting should be that month. I think that drafting should also be a month. But I also feel like that preseason doesn't need to be a month.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like that's where it gets dangerous, because now you're getting caught up. Because again, the scouting is like, let me see what's out there, playing with some options kind of thing. Drafting, it's like you having a little bit of interviews, you getting some maybe face-to-face time. And sometimes, depending on how we showing up in life, how healthy we are or not, we just left this, well, not left, but been quarantined damn near for a year and a half. Sometimes that desperation got you moving a little faster, just wanting to connect. And now preseason, you got caught up a little bit.
Yeah, but the flip side for me is, right? as the coach, as the general manager,
Absolutely.
as the owner of the team, right? The preseason is necessary because some people, they just, how you say it, they can't be consistent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give you a month to see if you can really play like an all-star the entire month. And
Yeah,
if you
I
can't
get
play
that.
like an all-star, by Thanksgiving, you out.
Yeah. 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 But so I'm with that. That was convincing, right? Almost swayed me completely, right? Except for the fact that, again, we've done topics about emotional maturity and all of that, right?
Absolutely.
So let's keep it 100. I don't need a month for me to really know what it is that I'm feeling anyway. Because actually, not so much scouting, but from drafting, you already was showing me some stuff. You was already showing me some things, but I was like, it ain't nothing. He ain't my man, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just kind of dismissing what we may consider red flags or a pinkish flag. You know what I'm saying?
Warning.
So, exactly. So knowing my worth, knowing who I am, all of these things, I may not need a month to see if you consistent or not because I already been peeping because I'm intentionally watching.
That's
So
true.
that's what I'm saying. So I get what you're saying, but there's another piece that sometimes we give people too much time than they deserve. And I hate to say it that way, but I am the GM. I am the owner of this team, so I call these shots. I don't really have a month to play with you. I just really don't.
Because time is money.
Time is money.
Time is money.
Precious. Time is of an essence.
Time is money. So
I'm counting down my birthday this early. Time. I don't have a month to play with you. I just don't. Show me quickly so I can know how to move. All right.
So you don't get to participate in these games, but I'll keep you posted.
All right.
I thought that was a chuckle. Oh,
Yes,
the other
it
thing
is.
in current events, they're now issuing COVID vaccines to the most vulnerable animals at the zoo. So we're gonna
Wow.
tigers, lions, and gorillas, not
Okay.
bears.
Not giraffes.
Not giraffes.
Okay. Giraffes are my favorite.
But yeah, so I'm sorry.
This is.
But I
Hopefully,
thought
you
would,
guys have gotten caught up and listened to last episode.
I thought you would
Because
be,
now the fucking zoo is going to be like, no, you can't sit over here, gorilla, because you're not vaccinated yet. Like this is what we're gonna do.
And do we take the choice away from the animals?
That's what I'm saying. So we go to the Baltimore Zoo and it's like 2 over here and 7 over there. They're like, really?
Them fucking gorillas at the Baltimore Zoo are duh. All right. So we're you guys know that when you're rocking with the Real Therapist for the Culture, we just have a range of shit that we're gonna throw on the table. So Soph, last year in August, you hosted the episode Black Men's Mental Health. And I was thinking that was a pretty popular episode, but I was thinking that when we have these discussions each week, I think that it's assumed quite frequently that we are speaking to women.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Right? Even if it's not said, I think that the assumption is that we are speaking to women. And while men and mental health is usually a shocker, it's not thought about, it's kind of just like overlooked type of thing. I think that for women, there are still some expectations and some myths attached to women as it pertains to mental health. You're not on social media right now, but you are aware of the probably started and got really, a little big and popular last month when Simone Biles opted out of the gymnastics. And initially, if you guys remember, it was medical doctors said that our medical advice, due to medical advice, she's going to withdraw from the team, right? What did everybody immediately think? everybody immediately thought it was something wrong with her physically.
Yes, right. Yes.
And it was days later that it came out that it was a mental health. And it was real cute because they just kept saying mental health. They were saying stress. Mm-hmm. They never used, I don't know if you noticed it, but they never used any real concrete mental health terms.
Yes, correct. Like depression or like saying disorders or yes, absolutely.
And in my reading, the first myth that I want to go with and I want us to kind of pick apart is she looks fine. Simone Biles said in her short interview that she did do when she said that in gymnastics before they perform, there's something called the twisties. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's a word to represent mentally unstable for gymnastics.
Got you.
Gymnast, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. So she was just like, I have the twisties, and her teammates were like, you look fine. Mm-hmm. And that was their initial response was, you look fine. How do you see that playing out? Just your observations, your life. I will start by saying, and I've repeated this, and now that I'm doing this episode, I think I'm going to stop repeating it so much, right? I had a boss who told me once, don't let your mood drive your appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And I agree with that, right? I do. But at the same time, is that supporting covering it up?
Yeah. I was raised with the don't look like what you're going through.
That's another one.
Heard it in church.
Yeah.
Heard it in my house. So that was, ingrained really, really early in my life, that, you just don't have to look like what it is that you're going through. And I think that is just similar to just covering up. But no, that I felt that, like, you guys know I'm emotional, right? And I'm really emotional, like now. It's weird. But I felt emotions like through my body when it's, you look fine. Because sometimes we think that as we're aging, and don't forget to add a career or some education, that we think that these kind of myths are not brewing. And they are. Mm-hmm. I'll still hear grown, smart, however, whatever that smart look like, and say things like, she looked fine yesterday. Like that. People say it on the news after suicide or a suicide attempt. She was just fine. Right. I just hung up the phone with her and she seemed fine. And it's like,
oh, we got coffee. She looked good. She had on her bag and she was rocking her pumps and blah, 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 blah.
Like, it's this weird thing that we feel like any level of mental illness has a look to it.
Looks like something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And media have done a great job of doing that. When we think about movies, it's like the disarray of their hair and their clothes, or not taking care of their children anymore, or lost everything. And it's like, no, it
doesn't have a look.
Exactly. One of the best movies that depicted on the other side for me is one of the Tyler Perry's Why Did I Get Married? And Janet Jackson, who they used to call Perfect Patty, right?
Yes.
She
Good
is working at this prestigious university, wrote this book, and exactly have this perfect looking marriage, did lose a child, but when she had that breakdown, I remember being in the movie theater crying. Mm-hmm. And so that movie, I don't know, but John, look up that for me, please. Tell me what year that movie came out, right? Because I went to the movies to see that. I was crying in the movie. So depending on the age of my clients, sometimes I'll be like, did you see that breakdown that Janet Jackson had? Mm-hmm. I still reference that because I felt that. Like, she fucked that house up. Like, but think about how many years, Why Did I Get Married? So it was like, there is no look. It gets ignored when you look 2007.
Was that number 1 or 2, though?
Oh yeah, that could have been one. That's probably definitely one
She snapped in two.
and two.
Yeah. Why did I get married? Number two.
Yeah.
You're right. But even think about it, right? Probably in the past year or two, there have been some instances where some moms have lost several of their children at one time. Fires.
That's
this,
the first thing. Yeah.
right? And it's like, oh, how's she doing? Well, she looks good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Or it might be she looks good, so I'm not even gonna ask.
Exactly. Because and why? Why I'm not gonna ask? Because I don't wanna,
Stir the pot.
I don't wanna make her feel, sad now. So I'm just not gonna bring it up at all because she looks fine. So if I ask her this, I'm gonna be the reason now she fell apart.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, okay.
Absolutely. And I think that because you guys know that there are so many ways to look at this. I also have observed people who haven't been doing well. They're trying to get back, but they're using their appearance to portray that they're back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, I showed up like this, but you still on the inside,
Yeah.
you're in fucking shambles on the inside. But you're showing up like put together, and you're putting emphasis on what you look like and what you wearing and what you can buy or whatever the case is. But on the inside, you're a total fucking mess.
And then, there is another piece to it, and I don't want to take it too far away from she looks fine. But one of the things that I've learned that people make sure that they try to look fine because it's the story that they tell themselves that they don't want to be a burden to someone else. Like, I don't want to not look fine, and then now you're worried, and now you're checking on me all the time. And so it's like, no, they got a lot going on, or, they got this and that. So let me make sure that I look the part so it doesn't concern or burden others. Yeah, it's a real psychological process that takes place with that. It's intentional to let me try to make sure that I look good, and then it's safe for other people to just say they do look good, so let me take my hands off so I don't even have to be a part of this.
Right.
It's a whole social piece too.
It's a huge social piece. And even going back to that statement that I said, don't let your mood drive your appearance. And so where I'm going to definitely look at that statement differently, I do still believe in it some. All of us, I say often on here that my feelings guide everything. How I feel guides everything. So what was yesterday? Yesterday it was raining. We expecting a tornado. I'm not getting dressed, right? I'm finding my most comfortable long sleeve tee, hoodie, some sweats, my comfortable shoes. I'm still gonna, slick my hair back and do whatever. But that's my feelings match what's happening in the mood, right? All of us have funky days. All of us have absolute funky days. And sometimes we do have to push through. But when I guess the balance or the encouragement is to try to achieve some type of balance so that you're not in this pattern of covering it up.
I mean, so yeah, I'm with you with that, right? That you do want to break that pattern of covering it up, because anything that's showing up in one area, we are very clear you're doing it in other areas, right? So we can look at it like, okay, you're covering your appearance up for what you are really dealing with. How many other areas are you covering stuff up with? So I'm with you with just being able to identify that pattern. But there's a flip side that I'm glad that this is your topic, that allows listeners to see a different side, that there is no look. There is no look. So even if I'm not feeling good, but I still chose to put on something cute, that still does not negate what I am still experiencing. So I shouldn't be missed even if I have the bag on and some good jeans and a shoe and lay my edges down, like it still should not take that away.
You're
Because
absolutely right.
That is a natural thing for me, and it's not a cover up, right? It's everything ain't for everybody.
That's true. That's true.
So when I leave out the house, I'm encountering neighbors, you know, all 12 parents are standing on the corner just saying good morning. Me looking disheveled and completely out of whack, that's not for them. You know, even if I do have to show up for work at that moment, it's not for that population. So I feel like hopefully this will debunk the myth of there is a look to it. I love you know, how I do feel about social media, but there are some things that have stuck in my head that I really like. And I like the little colloquial statement that it's like, check on your strong friends. You know, and that goes to that. Like, yeah, he looks good all the time. She looks and smell good all the time, but still just check in.
Yeah.
You know, so like you said, I don't necessarily feel like I want to change. I don't have to look like what I'm going through, because I really want people to understand that there is no look.
There isn't. There really isn't. On a positive side or on the flip side.
Yeah. Because even people who look disheveled, maybe they just didn't have it and just didn't know how to put it together.
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they are completely ready for hospitalization.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. In taking the Simone Biles interview to the next level, the way she portrayed it was that the teammate said, "Oh, but you look fine." And she said, no. And then they said, well, if you're saying it, we're going to accept it. For me, I don't think I buy that it happened that quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess that's the other thing is, where's the fine line between encouraging somebody and assuming, right? And so you might say, oh, but you look good, you're ready. I don't see what you're seeing. Okay, yeah, I might be encouraging, but at the same time, if you're saying it, what should I believe?
Yeah.
What should I go with?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Go with what I said. Like, if we are, like I said, just debunking what it looks like, go with what I've said. You know, I remember, and you know, this happens a lot with adolescents, particularly, and we've said this a few different times, that adolescents may say things, and yeah, we know that these are the stormy years, they're all over the place. So sometimes you do have to listen to what they're saying and dissect it, and then some things it's like, all right, we could shelf this, right? But because they use words very loosely, and things are sometimes dramatic, and things like adolescent will say, I'm depressed, and the parent or parents will say, what you got to be depressed about? You got everything you need, you got the latest sneakers, you go to the best school, your grades are good, and it's like, I hear what you're saying, but I hear him saying I'm depressed. So humor me. Tell me what that is, right? Let's don't just dismiss it because you feel like this is an attack on you. And it's like, because you listen everything that you're doing and providing. So it's like, how, right? So I feel like it's that same thing. Go with what the person is saying. And that doesn't mean that there can't be a conversation, you know, but it's like, we want to encourage so much because a lot of times we don't want to deal with anything, even if it's not our stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, how you doing? Do you really give a fuck how I'm doing? Or is that just a natural statement that you say in the mornings when you run across people? Hey, how you doing? How's it going? Hey, not too good. It not too good. My daughter's transitioning back to school. She hasn't been to school in almost 2 years. She's in the 9th grade. She's having a rough week. And it's like, they got the face like, no, I didn't really
I didn't want all of that. Don't dump it.
Yeah, so don't ask those kind of questions. And everyone isn't emotionally mature enough not to. It's just a thing that people say. They work in the workplace. I'm getting coffee, and it's like, hey, how you doing? Do you really care? So now that it goes back to that social responsibility. Now that you tell me that you're not okay, oh shit, what do I do with this? I just wanted to go to my fucking cube or whatever and file my paperwork. Like, I didn't want this morning, so it's easier for the other person to say, girl, you look good, you killing it, as I'm walking off. Like, I'm not, right? So this conversation opens it for both sides.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep saying that social responsibility. And again, nobody's saying that you need to now be Dr. Phil and go into this whole clinical work, but you do have a responsibility too.
Absolutely. This, your comment kind of leads into the second myth.
Cubicle.
What about a cubicle?
No, because I was like, where do they go? To a cube, or where people go for that little boxing thing? Cubicle.
Yo, you've been out the work world that...
No, but even when I was in the work world, I never
had a cubicle.
I
never, maybe once. I had like a cube. We was like, yeah, it's ridiculous. How about this one? She's just so dramatic.
Yeah.
Attention seeker.
Yeah.
I transparent moment. Attention seeker is one of those words that I use that I feel convicted when I use it, because as a mental health provider, I don't think I should say that you're attention seeking.
But I mean, the reality is that word didn't come from nowhere, right? So there are situations where there is attention seeking. It's the connotation that we place with it.
Absolutely.
Right? So, oh, you are an attention seeker. Yes. If my husband said you're an attention seeker, yesterday you're right. I was seeking your attention, right? It doesn't have to be this negative thing.
So the
I
negative
am seeking your attention
is I'm going to extreme lengths to get this attention, right? But the dramatics, like, let's use for instance. Now, you know I'm not a reality TV person, so I don't know the personality of this person. Tamar.
Okay.
Right? She has come up in the news, I feel like several times, regarding some unstable mental health. Right? When she left the show, the talk show that she was on, and then she had a moment of she was having some suicidal ideation, and I don't remember if that happened once or more than once or whatever the case is.
Yeah, she shaved her head. They try to say that was due to...
Then we go back to the look. So you're shaving your head. So yes, now something's wrong with you because you shaved your damn head.
Exactly.
Right? And so how do we... Women are emotional creatures. Period. Right? That's the thought. That's the tagline. It applies sometimes it doesn't, right? But as in a general way of speaking, if women are emotional creatures, how does saying someone is dramatic because they're disclosing that they're feeling depressed or they're stressed or they're actually even considering taking their life? You know, how does that equal you're so dramatic?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't, right? Now, there is something that I do struggle with about, I guess, attention seeking or things being dramatic is when people post it. It gets a little tricky for me, right? And it gets tricky for me because I feel like I'm at least at a place where I try to see it differently. That if that's your primary platform where you do communicate with a lot of people, I guess I can see how that's the easiest way for you to seek support. Asking for prayer, pick your kid up from after school, I'm not sure, right? That's just the bulk. You got 800 followers, so instead of sending out a mass text, hey, I'm going to show you my wristband of the hospital that I am in, and say, no caption needed. So,
and then prayers going up, sis.
Prayers going up. What happened? I'm going to call you. Hit me in my DM right now. Right? It's like,
Oh no.
Right. What? I just spoke to you. You looked fine. Like all of this is happening. So sometimes I have struggled with that. Like, what's happening here? If it's 9:03 and you said you got to the hospital at 8:58, how the fuck did you go through triage? How did you post this already? Like, are they not still taking your vitals? Like, have you changed into your fucking gown yet? Like, how? Like, is this happening? So there is sometimes that comes up for me, like, this feels attention seeking. But like I said, I have tried to see it a different way where this is maybe not as vulnerable, but I look at it like putting stuff like that is a vulnerable thing and somebody else may not, right? So it's like I can say that I have said this seems a little dramatic.
So, all right. So,
especially the next day you post a picture and you're out and about at brunch. Like, so we're not going to act like we didn't just see the medical wrist bracelet yesterday. Like, what happened to that? Like, I need the story. I need to know, are you okay now? So I can admit that I have said that. Like, this seems dramatic or this seems attention seeking. That doesn't make it right at all.
Right. You mean it doesn't make your statement right?
Yeah, or even the judgment that showed up about it. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time with that too. Those little hospital pictures, and you want to be real vague about it, but you're taking the time to post the picture
or saying
about
respect my privacy while you're asking questions like that. Like,
why did you do this?
I don't know the code of conduct for this.
So even the flip side, right? Remember I told you? All right, so I was in Jamaica a couple weeks ago. I twisted my foot.
Oh, no.
I twisted my foot walking, yada, yada, yada. By the time we got off the plane, I was telling Soph that I was sitting in the same position. I had an ace bandage around my foot. It was really like swollen. It was hurting. And I made my sister push me in the wheelchair. And so I put it on Instagram because I thought it was fucking hilarious. Right? Got all kinds of crazy comments. Oh, Suge, I thought you went to get a BBL. You thought I went to get a fucking like 3 people said, now my ass been looking a little bit fatter, but I did not get a BBL. Like, I don't know.
I know John is about to say, what's a BBL?
Oh, a BBL. What is it called? Butts, boobs, and lipo. Butts, boobs, and lipo.
Yeah.
And so, for real, so 3 people were like, oh, I thought maybe you got a BBL. I'm like, fucking BBL though? Like,
yeah.
Are y'all retarded? My fucking foot is in an ace bandage. Anyway, my family in turn, they came crashing down, and they didn't use the word attention seeking. They didn't use the word dramatic, but they was like, why you post that? Why you post that? Now all your lying sisters and your friends and Soph showing up. Soph talking about, can you drive? And so their assumption was I did it for attention. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're right.
You did send me that video. I do want to see that video. Send me that.
What video?
Of that you posted of
being
push. Yes.
Gianna pushing me in the wheelchair.
That. Yeah.
Mind you, my sister wanted to push me so she could get through customs faster too. And then my aunt tagged along like she was carrying the bags. So don't have a problem with me posting this or whatever the case was. But yes, it's not fair to assume, and it's very dangerous.
It is. It really is. Because it also, I know you're going to say why it's dangerous, but what just came to my mind, why it's so dangerous is because it shuts the person down, especially those family members and those loved ones that say it. Like, you're being so dramatic. You're still going through this. It just was a breakup, or you just lost your job. Move on kind of thing. What happens is the ego will say like, oh my gosh, am I doing too much? So now
you close in.
Exactly. Internalize this. I am going to withdraw and isolate, and I'm going to just look the part. So now when I'm around you guys, I'm fine. I'm good. But I go home with all of that turmoil.
And fall apart.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yes, it's very dangerous on a smaller scale because you you can cause people to turn inward.
Yeah.
And if someone saw you privy enough to share that vulnerable piece with them, right? And I don't mean through social media, like that's that. But if I say, for somebody who has a difficulty being vulnerable, if that person says, my life is a fucking wreck and it's terrible. Yes, that's huge, right? You cannot say, oh, you're being dramatic.
Yeah.
Because I allowed you to be worthy of hearing my vulnerabilities. And now I'm probably not going to do that again.
Because I feel dismissed, unheard, unseen, rejected. You know what? All right, I told you guys I'm emotional, right? This is triggering something for me, right? In a sense, so I went through a divorce, and I'm a person that, not that I don't experience things, but it's weird how my life has kind of been blessed where my hardships don't happen back to back to back. And I used to almost feel like I didn't want to say that because anyone who I was connected to where that happened, I was looking better kind of thing, right? But that's the reality. That's just how my life path has been, because when it hits, it hits, right? So I'm not the friend that has a lot of, not that I'm not being vulnerable, but no heaviness to be vulnerable about, because it just doesn't happen out. So it'll be gaps. And because of those gaps, people get comfortable with thinking that she's good or her life is good, right? So when something happens, a lot of people don't know how to respond to me.
Absolutely.
For example, and I'm also internal thinker too. So by time I kind of have processed it, when it comes to the table, it's already decided. In many situations, there are some things that I do need to brainstorm and I need some feedback, but a lot of times it's like, hey guys, this is what it is. And that's how it was brought about, the divorce. Hey, I'm getting a divorce. And it was like laughter. You play too fucking much. Like, silence. Tears is rolling down my fucking eyes. And I'm like, I'm getting a divorce. Now, people who know me know that perfectionism is just a part of who I am, and it's been really, really intense, especially then, 12, 13 years ago, really was at its height then. So this was like, I failed. Like, I failed publicly. Like, it was very deep and dark for a minute, even though I was clear about my decision. And the support wasn't what I wanted or needed. Like, not at all. Like, I wasn't taken seriously. I was not heard. I was even told that I'm being dramatic. So,
or even because every time you say that, so my last memory of y'all together was when y'all came to the birthday party
okay. I'm like, who birthday party? Like, is this a secret? No, what? No, I got it.
Right?
Got it, right.
And, with being a visual person, the thought was, y'all were fine.
Exactly. And it's always been. It was damn near, Kmart was big back then. So it was like...
Back then, don't do that.
I know.
That's too far.
I was trying to find Kmart the other day because I needed a lunchbox. I'm like, Kmart always used to have... What? They used to have the best
It's no
lunchbox.
Kmart.
I know, but I thought that...
Down south it is, though.
It used to be one still in Joppa. That was like the last one holding on. So I was like, I wonder if I could run there. But... The point that I'm saying is people used to be like, y'all are like the Kmart catalog picture. Like, y'all look good together. It's just y'all got this one kid. Y'all got this little starter home. Like, this is the picture.
You're fine.
Right. So people were saying that I was dramatic. Like, I'm an only kid on my mother's side. I am naturally a brat. So it was like, oh, you're just not getting your way. You're a spoiled brat. Like, what is going on? And I'm like, well, I don't really need to trust me. If I'm saying this is over, I didn't know that I have to go through a list to try to bash the person or give you some Love and Hip Hop VH1 type shit. Like, it wasn't none of that. It was just like, I just don't want to be married to this person. And that should have been it. But it was like waiting for explanation or like I said, to bash him or say bad things.
Or even convince you otherwise because you're just being dramatic.
Yeah, and it felt so, and so I didn't use the word depressed because I didn't feel like I was depressed, but I do use words like, I feel like I'm having symptoms of depression. Like
It was a heavy time.
yeah, it's dark. I was like, it just feels dark. It feels intense. I'm thinking about my small child. Like it was so much. And I just did not. And that's including, again, you know, sometimes we assume that because somebody might be in a profession or somebody has no, it's just off of the person. And because I just didn't have something all the time, when I did show up, like, I'm really sad, like crying, it was like, oh shit, I don't know what to do with this. You're fine. Come on, work it out. Like dismissive.
Want to go out? Let's go get a drink.
Exactly. It felt dismissive, even though I know that that wasn't anyone's intention. But it felt dismissive to the point where I just was like, I'll deal with it alone.
Yeah.
And I literally almost did until like the divorce hearing. It was like, oh, I need a witness. But I didn't want to have a witness, and because I just did not feel that anyone got me during that period.
And that's the part that's frustrating, and that's the part that's lonely. You know what I mean?
Lonely, that word.
And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, like, because I absolutely have felt that way, and I remember several times in my own mother's mental health journey, which, you know, the next myth is where I can kind of expand upon that. But in times where my mother had to go to the hospital, I felt like people didn't understand.
Yeah.
And even they didn't understand, okay, you're in this field. Why are you so upset about it? Why are you crying about it? And you close in, you shut the rest of the world out because you're not sure, or how people respond to you is not what you need, or it's not comforting, or the converse is, I'm gonna just keep it to myself because I don't want anybody to call me dramatic.
Yes, that was, so I told that whole story because it was that. So now I feel like when things do show up, I pushed through in my higher self to say, use your support, but I'll be lying if I don't have a thought of, they will just call you dramatic. They will just say you're being a brat. You're not getting your way, kind of thing. So that still shows up. What if I didn't have the capacity to say, no, utilize, you know, who you have in your life? Many people will just go with that thought of, you did it once, and I'm never going to let you do that to me again.
Yep.
Because it's even clear, like I'm talking about something 12, 13 years ago, I still feel it. So people don't let that go, especially in a time of need.
Right. Absolutely. So we got 2 myths on the table. She looks fine and she's just dramatic. Third myth is once the issue or the vulnerability, I don't like the word issue, is revealed, you never can be separated from it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I follow this page, Black Women's Health, and it's all realms of health, sexual, mental, everything. And there was this, it was still along the same, it was in support of the Simone Biles thing, but it was Naomi Osaka kissing the Wimbledon trophy and saying that, you know, society will hold you fiscally responsible for having a mental vulnerability, right? And so I guess the subcategories under not being able to be separated from your mental health vulnerability would fall in the category of being a mom, your career, and even how you might perform, right?
Yeah.
And so the being a mom one thing, it is a huge trigger for me, because I run into people all the time who assume that because somebody has a mental health issue, they cannot parent their children.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I've been advocating for someone who this is happening to. And I was having a conversation with my father, and you know, the history is I grew up with both of my parents in my home. My parents didn't separate until, how old was I, Soph? Maybe 23?
Yeah. I was about to say 22, but yeah.
22, 23, something like that. And my mother has always been labeled as the tough, don't take no shit, put you in your place, she'll help people out, pop off real quick type of thing. And my second year in college, my mother had a mental health breakdown, and she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I remember listening to my father, and my father's like, she's just so unpredictable. I don't know if she's going to kill me in my sleep. And, you know, he once that diagnosis was there, he could not let go of it, even though he didn't know anything about it.
Exactly.
Right? But in this conversation I was having with him a couple of months ago, I was like, you know, I really don't like when people assume that because a woman has a mental health issue that she can't parent her kids. And my father said, well, she can't. I said, I lost it. And you know, so Sophia knows, me and my dad we tight. We tight, we cool. But sometimes when we disagree about shit, it goes really, it really gets really intense, like you said. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? I said, are you kidding me? That's one thing that I could never say, is that my mother did not take bomb ass care of me.
Yeah.
I even said me having a baby was going to keep my mother mentally stable.
Right.
Because my mother is, she becomes secure in taking care of people, whether it's her kids. And that actually was the thing that triggered her mental health breakdown. She didn't have anybody to fucking take care of anymore.
Yeah, and didn't know how to do it for her. Just
exactly.
For her. Yeah.
She didn't know how to live out. So what might have been little pockets of anger outbursts and stuff, she totally lost it, because the way that she coped was we always had other kids in our house. We always had other people living in our house. My mother had a daycare, so even when my sister was gone, I was still there. She had her daycare kids, and then I left, and then the daycare dwindled. Homegirl she was like lost, right? So she couldn't hold it together anymore. And even now, when people are sick in our family, my mother takes care of them.
Yeah.
And that's when she's vibrating the highest in her life.
Exactly.
With no medication, no nothing.
Yeah.
And so it really, really bothers me. And I know that there are converse situations, right? Because we have 2 recent issues right here in Baltimore with women killing small children.
Yeah.
And I know, and you know, I think the struggle is somebody knew that they're saying, because everything's alleged, that this most recent mom, she had a mental health issue, right? She had a mental health issue, and you know, your thing is the social responsibility. Soph is the social responsibility guru. And these kids was decomposing for days, and then the neighbor says, well, I heard the little girl saying, no, mommy, don't. So mixed with knowing that this mom is struggling mentally, you've heard the cries from the door, you ain't say shit, you ain't step in. And so I know that in some areas, it does become fatal and tragic. But at the same time, if somebody was to step in and that mom was to get help, that doesn't mean that she should never have her children again.
Exactly. And that's what, you know, and I'm not going to go on a long soapbox for that, but that's just the way that our society responds, right? We have a very tragic situation, and the
the response is
that are responsible for this is like, so we are just going to completely intervene and there's no preventative measures kind of thing, right? So anyone who's diagnosed with anything, just remove these kids.
Yep.
You know, because you see what happened in 2021, you see, and then they got a long list of things, and it's like, no, what can we put in place to avoid that? Instead of having social workers have 100 people on a caseload and they didn't get a chance to see 30 of those home visits or do 30 of those home visits, like how about we come up with something like that that does not have women particularly even be scared to say to a therapist, because it's like, oh, where's this gonna go? People who won't even have a CPS case is still saying, where's this going? Like, just in case. Like, I don't want this shit to go to a school. I don't want this to go to the medical doctor because someone is going to take my child. So that's a whole nother thing with, you know, these institutes that are supposed to be in place to protect.
And it's really, it's really, really hard. It's hard for me because I understand and I get it. I was talking to someone a few weeks ago who has a more intense mental health issue. And I said, you know, maybe you should consider, you know, going to the hospital. And their response was, well, is this something that they can hold against me in court when I go to court for my kids? And this is not even a CPS related. This is just custody related.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't say no. And I can say, well, you know, your medical business is your business. That's not something you have to disclose. But I do know that it can be held against
Exactly.
you. And so instead of helping people, we punish them.
Right.
And that's basically, we punish them. We're going to take away your ability to mother when that actually can be the thing that makes you hold on.
Exactly.
You know? And
exactly. And again, support in where it could be in a healthy way, right? Because to some extent that is unhealthy, that I do have to rely on my kids to keep me sane or trying to keep it together as much as I can, right? So putting things in play to support that person so that it can be healthy and not when the kid is gone, you falling apart. You know, it is really, it is difficult. It is difficult, but there are tons of people with no diagnosis. You know, every time something happens in the media, they want to try to find something. The person could be 38 now. In the 4th grade, he drew this picture with monsters, and we knew something then.
Like a bloody knife.
Yeah, you know, of course, there's always something brewing, but it's like we have to try to paint this picture that this was a mental health related situation, and that evoked this kind of thing. Yes, we're clear that there is something there at a mental health level, but you don't need to paint that narrative to make a justification or excuse for the behavior.
Yeah.
Like it drives me. It was autism, you know, 5 years ago. Everything was like, yep, he was on the spectrum. She was on the spectrum. And it's like, you are killing this.
Dragging it, as the kids say. Dragging the shit, right?
Exactly. So yeah, it's really, really sad. So imagine we're talking on a level of institutes and things like that. Imagine that on a family related level, on loved ones, where it's just like how we look at people differently after they have disclosed that.
So let's even about like even on the level of working. So something that I do now, I have been in leadership roles in some of those institutions, right? I recommend to people, do not disclose your mental health status at your job.
Yep.
And they always want me to, when someone brings FMLA papers for me to complete, right? Yes. This is gonna say, be kind to her. This is gonna say,
give her additional support. She needs time off. She needs space. She needs a place to be able to sit and whatever.
Be understanding. But I would be lying if I said that that's not going to be held against you.
Right.
It is. It is. And anybody in corporate America or any of these institutions that we're referring to, they could tell me that that's not the truth, but that's a lie. And the other lie is that it doesn't stay confidential, right? Because they tell the manager. The manager tells the supervisor's cool with the secretary. Now everybody in the department knows that you have this diagnosis or this issue, and now everything you do is a reflection of this issue. Oh, well, you know she got bad anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Her father died last month. Like, okay.
And so then you become a liability.
Right. Right.
And so because you become a liability, now you're being punished fiscally. And I say punished fiscally because what I have seen in so many cases is these corporations start to move in a way where the person becomes so frustrated with their employment that they are either fired or they leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine when will the next Olympics be? How many years? 4 years? 3-4 years? So Simone Biles is 24. In 4 years, she'll be 27, 28, right? The next Olympics, she'll be 27, 28. Mm-hmm. She's going to step up to the plate. And I can guarantee you, and all you listeners, when it happens, just drop me $1 in my Cash App. Mm-hmm. There are going to be people who says, I wonder if she's mentally strong enough to do this year.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, you just can't shake it. It does not matter. It happens with entertainers, that it's like people are still referencing, Kanye West just dropped this album, and it's like, is he mentally stable? Like, I can't wait. They're not even listening to the content of the music. It's like, I want to be able to hear, is he still depressed? Is this it's like goddamn 27 songs on this album. It's been taking me 3 days to get through this whole thing. And I know people are listening to hear the breakdown. They're listening to hear, is he mentally stable?
I mean, they already did that when he, whatever, and I didn't see it, but I just read about it. The whole, he remarried. Like, they're already saying you're fucking nuts that you married Kim Kardashian again or something. Yeah. I don't even know. I didn't even read it because I just was like, whatever. But
they can't. They just won't shake it. It happens to actors, actresses. It's just they will reference 10 years. Even a interview about the movie coming out tomorrow, it'll be like, so how are you doing with what happened 10 years ago? After their manager already said, we're not talking about that. It's still like, it's people don't forget.
So you never, and people won't never let you forget.
Exactly.
Right? And so now you're never separated from this thing that happened.
It's bugged out how people just really are twisted, right? Because it goes back to one of your original myths, or the person looks okay, or do you listen to what they're saying, or is she dramatic? And it's like, listen to what they're saying, right? So now this person is saying, no, I'm doing well. I've done treatment and blah, blah, blah. So I'm telling you I'm fine, but you still want to keep going back to what I said I'm dealing with, or I've even overcame it. Mm-hmm. But when I'm telling you, it's, no, you're fine, you're good. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's bugged.
It is. And these are difficult concepts, right?
They are.
And so as we even, wrap up and leave some takeaways, these are not very easy concepts. We tell you guys all the time, what's true for one person may not be true for another. I may talk to two different mothers with the same diagnosis, and my opinion about their ability to mother may be totally different.
Absolutely.
What they need as far as supports may be totally different.
Absolutely.
So this is a very complex topic that we discuss when it pertains to mental health. Weight loss is a little bit different, right? Most people could say, okay, if you decrease your carbs, you increase your activity, you're in a calorie deficit, you're gonna lose weight, period, right? mental health, it doesn't work that same way.
And even with that, it doesn't. My metabolism, the way it works, and a thyroid.
I was about to say, you might have a thyroid, a medical issue that prevents you from responding to this thing. So
nothing is, this cookie cutter.
So that's my first takeaway, is that no assumptions and no square this can never be put into one single square. Mm-hmm. This is a very elaborate polygon, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of my takeaways goes back to just the first one of just being aware that things don't have to have a look, right? And I know we live in a society where everything looks a certain way, which is why we always say take a break from social media or just different things like that, because we assume the way it looks. This couple looks happy. This person look happy because the way the picture and the angles and the filters that were used.